Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when we sign up for a new account to get amazing odds boosts every single day. AJ and Rudo.
I love that read because it sounds
Coming at
so
you
hokey and corporate.
What?
Amazing odds boost every single day. But then you actually go into the app and you look at them and you're like, oh, this is a pretty legit odds boost.
KD boosted even money to score 20 points tonight.
What?
Yeah.
What?
It's free money.
All right, I'm getting back on. I haven't made a bet in a while because I was pretty salty about how I lost one, and so I was like, we gotta take a break because I get too wrapped up in it, or I get big
Start
mad.
chasing and it gets real ugly.
I don't chase.
Okay, that's good.
What I do is I make the big bet, I lose, and I stew
and just think about it.
About it, and I just have to be pissed about it for a little while. But Kate, I mean, if they're giving away money tonight,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I might have to jump on some of that.
Anyway, the Avs also play tonight, as you might have noticed.
He'll get to 19 points and blow out his Achilles again.
Oh my God! I lost the other free bet, which was one touchdown in the Broncos game. If I lose another one, I swear.
That was a tough one, man. That was a tough one. That was a classic bad beat.
Anyway, before we get into the game, I did want to talk a little bit about the Central Division because this will be the third opponent from the Central that the Avs have played.
Oh, God, I forgot Chicago's in the NHL.
Yeah, they're an NHL team, technically.
I was like, third? Who was the first? You're right. Chicago is in the NHL.
And look, it's too early to make any real assumptions about anything.
Yeah.
But
no strong conclusions here.
Minnesota does not have a win, have disasters in net.
Yeah.
You obviously have Arizona and Chicago, who you're both expecting to be terrible.
Chicago's only win, I think, is San Jose.
Yep.
And Arizona's win is hilariously Toronto.
And the only team off to an actually good start is the Stars, who are 3-0.
3-0?
The Predators are 2-2-1 in 5 games. So they started with the 2 wins in Czechia, rather, and then they have not won a game since.
They got stateside, and we're like,
yeah,
it's a lot harder to win against non-San Jose teams. Those were close games, too.
They were. They were closer than they probably should have been, given San Jose doesn't have a win either. Yeah. But
we can't all be the Flyers.
Right. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is forever, the Central Division has always kind of been known as the Thunderdome of like the best division in the league.
Yeah, I think only really in the last like a year you would start talking about the Atlantic.
Yep.
And that was really just the top end of it.
The bottom was still terrible.
Where it was so good. But then even last year, Minnesota had a 113-point season. St. Louis had a 109-point season.
Right.
And the Central produced both wild cards out west.
Yep.
So
in
a year where it may not have been the absolute best, it was still pretty goddamn good.
And I guess that's what I'm alluding to. Are we finally there? Is the Central Division finally just okay?
I think we're in line for something like last year, except Chicago is going to be worse than they were last year. And so you have 2 of the 4 or 5 worst teams that will be in the Central.
Yep.
And then I think you have 6 teams. The other 6 teams are pushing for the postseason. I do not think Minnesota is that bad.
They're not going to give up 7 goals a game the whole season.
I don't think that they are that bad. And the big thing, like, we knew that they could be in for some. Both them and St. Louis could be in for some regression because certain things went their way that last year.
Yeah.
Minnesota dominant in 3-on-3 overtime and whatever.
They won like 14 games.
Yeah, and they were exceptional in 6-on-5 situations. Yep. And St. Louis was like a bottom tier Corsi team whose special teams elevated it and had 2 goaltenders. Basically their backup goaltender had a career year to bail out their starter falling apart in front of their eyes.
Yep.
And so like they got there in like ways that you would think of that are unsustainable.
For sure.
And like it became a meme, which we knew it would, but the 920 goal scores was something that just does not happen in NHL history very often.
Yep.
at the top of the division, Colorado remains Colorado, where
Agreed.
you don't. The fascinating part about the Central is I think every team got a little bit worse or a lot bit worse, except maybe Winnipeg, where they didn't really suffer any major losses. They didn't make any major additions. They just changed coaches.
Well, and
captains.
As we're kind of moving into the game notes here, it was a team that didn't really change that much, but there was a ton of internal turmoil.
Yeah. They didn't change personnel, but they could change a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
There's still a bunch of question marks in and around that locker room.
Yeah.
What exactly is going on? Why they went from the world's most boring coach to the world's second most boring coach?
You know, I watched their season opener against the Rangers, and the Rangers were on the second half of a back-to-back. The Rangers dominated the second period. Were thoroughly outplaying the Jets, and they were at 1-1.
Yeah,
with
surviving.
with 8 minutes left in the third or whatever. And the Jets pulled away late and won that game, but that is not going to be
how it's going to work.
It was just not a game that inspired a lot of confidence, because we've talked about, last week we talked about the schedule being odd and how it kind of sets some teams up for good starts.
Yeah.
Having the Rangers come all the way out west and go into
Can't
Manitoba
ask for a better scenario
on a second night of a back-to-back, that should be a free 2 points.
You had to scrape that one out.
They got them, but they had to work what they imagined would be quite a bit harder than they were expecting.
Yeah,
because that was a lock in net. It was not just Eric.
Right.
And I think they ended up with a 4-goal night.
It was 4-1 at the end, yeah.
But an empty netter with 4 seconds left or whatever.
Right.
And they, again, just pulled in late. Pulled it out late.
Yeah.
So.
And look, a win's a win at the end of the day. But from a confident, yeah, can you get this man some water?
Can I get some water? I'm dying, dude. Sorry.
Well, AJ's trying not to choke to death.
Nothing.
We're going to get into a lot of talk about the Avs roster tonight and what's going on with their lineups. Before we get into that, all of this talk, keep in mind, their top 9 is the same. They did not change their top 9 at all. They're not going to change their defense at all. So,
The Avs?
The Avs.
You mean their top 9 is the same from the other day?
From their last game.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to make sure I'm on the same basis.
Yes.
Okay.
So the majority of the Avs roster is going to be this for the foreseeable future. And there's no... we say this every time because, look, we get into the fourth line. We talk a lot about the fourth line on this podcast because it's interesting, because it's part of the team. But just keep in mind how small of a part of the lineup that is.
Yeah. I will say that if you can import a brand new fourth line into a game from one game to the next, you bring in all 3 guys, you bring in a completely new fourth line into your organization or into your NHL team, and you play them, because that's the plan tonight. You either have great depth or they were real bad.
One of the two.
And I think based on those first couple of games, the results that they produced, they were real bad. Sedlak is gone now, claimed by the Philadelphia Flyers today.
Let's start here very quickly. Sedlak gone.
Yeah.
Gone. Yeah. Not just sent down. Flyers claimed him. And Landy, there's now a timeline. 12 weeks out. So
I feel like a genius for being the one who was like, I'm not talking about it until January, till the end of December. Sometimes lucky.
So the lineup is now a lot more established. They don't really have that extra guy rotating in the bottom 12, 13, 14th forward with Sedlak gone.
Yeah.
And Landy, you're just not even thinking about.
Yeah.
So Helm will come back at some point.
Mm-hmm.
You also had Jacob McDonald activated off of IR.
Oh, they did activate him?
They did. Okay. At least according to Cap Friendly.
Cool.
So there's still...
I know he was getting close.
Yeah, there's still some flexibility there. But realistically with the forwards, as AJ already alluded to, called up was Kaut, Megna, and Bleed. Yeah. Is there an official roster yet? I didn't see one.
No, but those are the guys.
Well, without a doubt, 2 of them are playing, and there's a good chance McDermott sits for all 3.
I believe it was mentioned earlier today that McDermott was not expected to play.
There you
go. Tonight. But they were going to bring in a whole new 4th line and just run it.
Just send it, see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. So it is all 3 of them are in, regardless of how the lines actually end up getting shaken
So it's Nichushkin, Comfer, and Kaut?
Allegedly.
That is... All right.
We'll see how long those things last, put it that way. But...
The reason that you guys see me ducking and diving
there's
like
a camera in the way of the
There's a camera
chat.
in the way of the chat, and so I can't see it. I'm not like...
It's such a weird setup.
I'm not having a seizure, I promise.
It's the only setup that was good.
No, it's fine. I just...
It's such a weird setup.
It just occurred to me that somebody might think something's happening to me if I'm constantly like...
It's...
And then I from the
Yeah.
And so, I guess the question I have going into this is, what's it going to take for a Kaut or a Bleed to earn a roster spot? I think Megna, it's already pretty well established who he is. So
I was most surprised by Megna because last year it just seemed like they were like, we're good.
yeah,
And
they seem done with him.
when you make a guy captain of your AHL team, that's not a guy that you want shuffling back and forth
Yep.
between your NHL and AHL team. So I was actually a little surprised by the Megna one, and especially with like Maltsev right there. I understand he did not have a very good preseason.
Even if it wasn't Maltsev, Hudon would be the new shiny of the like veteran-y guy, right?
Well, they needed a center, really.
Yeah, that's fair.
And
That's
that was where I thought it came down to Megna versus Maltsev, and I was like, he's captain of your AHL team. Like, you're trying to set a tone down there. You're trying to set accountability and certain expectations and whatever. So anyway, I was a little surprised by the Megna thing.
Sure.
Just for those reasons. But from knowing the Avs and their history and knowing how NHL teams operate, it was not remotely surprising that it was Megna.
And I mean, look, Darren Helm is coming back soonish. I know there's not really anything official on when he'll be back, but he can't be that far away. So realistically, these guys are fighting for 1.5 spots right now, as you expect the Avs to continue rotating a McDermott in, or maybe throwing a McDonald as a 7th D.
Yeah. Oh, or McDonald as a 12th forward.
Yeah, you could do that too.
I don't know. I don't even know, man.
So
with McDermott and McDonald, you have
right.
Any given day they could be whatever.
So what do these 3 guys have to do to win the spot?
Well, especially if Kaut's going to play next to Nichushkin and Comfer, he cannot
Disappear.
Cannot have a quiet game.
Yeah.
He can't just go out there and be a guy.
Yeah.
He has to go out there and be noticeable in some way. He cannot have a quiet game. That's number 1. For Bleed and Megna, I think it's go out there and hit people, be physical, skate fast.
Yep.
Don't make mistakes. What we saw with the 4th line the other day was they were just constantly in their own zone,
making the critical error to not even be able to get the puck out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the kind of the key for them right now is don't do that.
Don't do it.
Yeah, like don't be bad. It sounds so stupid.
You're gonna
and so simple, but don't be bad. Don't make mistakes. Don't hurt them. Do everything that they can to break even. And look, if they pot one, that's
all money in the bank there.
You have to win that game.
Yeah.
Because you're not expecting to get any offense from those dudes. So
look, Ben Myers scored. I know it was complete nonsense, but he did it.
True. And they won that game.
They did win.
Take that. No, I think that it's really for Bleed and Megna, it's just don't be bad. Be responsible. Bleed especially has a really good shot here because Sedlak is no longer in the way.
That direct competition.
Yeah. And it helps Megna too because Sedlak was getting a lot of center reps.
Yep.
But he could do both, which was
Some
with Helm, and we saw Helm play center basically all postseason.
Yep.
So the team is very comfortable with him in that role if need be when he comes back.
Yep.
So this, I think, is more about bleed getting, can bleed, go out there, not make mistakes, and be safe with the puck. We know that his puck skill, we have an entire bodies of work.
That it's bad.
That puck skill is not a strength of his, but if he can be physical and if he can be good defensively and you don't get crushed every time they're on the ice, you'll live with it for your fourth line.
Yep.
Especially against a team like a Winnipeg that doesn't have much of a fourth line of their own. There isn't. It's not a special group. It's not a dangerous
You just need
group.
to not lose that battle,
Exactly.
right? Like,
Where I think you're tougher here is that their top 9 is pretty solid. That third line, with Lowry and Morgan Barron,
yep.
it's physical. And if you match up third line on third line, Newhook and Rodriguez together against, if they were to go head to head against Lowry and Barron,
Are they going to get run over a little bit?
They're it's certainly your classic.
Small versus tall.
Yeah, like a truck versus sports car.
Yeah.
Big physical, sturdy versus zoom, 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 zoom.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
it'll be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see.
To see how they match up.
And
like if you take Newhook and Rodriguez and you do the third line,
right?
But if they get
exactly.
third line assignments, they get a third line matchup. We'll see what they look like versus trying to handle opposing second lines.
You would certainly like to see them win the skill battle a bit more against a third line competition. But, and again, we saw it multiple times the other night. Bednar could run these lines for a period and then say, done with that.
Yeah, and we know how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is what it is. There's not really a ton to say about the Avs top 9, even if it gets mixed and matched. It's still the same dudes. You're still looking at the same things. You'd like to see Newhook and Erod start getting on the board.
Yeah, and with I saw people talking after the last game. They were like, "Oh, I think those guys look terrible," and I was like, "I thought that was their best game."
Yeah, I do not agree with that.
I thought Rodriguez looked better, and he's got to stop taking penalties.
That's
you're
not
the
wrong,
obvious thing,
but
he's got to stop taking penalties. But I think that he started to settle down a little bit, and with Newhook, my big thing is that he continues to look fine defensively, and I see him make 1 or 2 plays every game with his speed. But he's not doing anything with the puck. And that is a big problem for a guy that you're trying to have be your second line center. So we'll see here. I also like Nichushkin was there. It was very clearly there was no chemistry there.
Yeah,
and it was not clicking. I would have been fine had they swapped Lehkonen and Nichushkin and just tried something.
Try that other guy. Yeah.
But I also understand like the top line was rolling so well that you're like, okay, we're happy to let them just be. But also anybody next to McKinnon and Rantanen seems to find success. We've seen Landeskog, Nichushkin, and Lehkonen all be good there.
Look, when McKinnon's on, Matt Calvert's a 50.2 next to that guy.
Well,
just saying. Okay. Do we have bets from Blaze today or no?
I forgot to make the graphic again because it stopped working on me. But I do have the bets.
We do have Blaze bets. Cool.
This time I can say them into the mic so I don't got to yell them and then repeat them.
Amazing.
Sick.
So it's Colorado Avalanche, money line, and under 6.5 goals.
The under, huh?
Plus 170. Newey, anytime goal scorer, plus 275.
I like that.
Makar, over 1.5 points, plus 175.
Plus 175.
That's good money. That's good money.
I will say, it's pretty comical that a defenseman at over 1.5 points is only 175.
Yeah, right. It should be like 500 or something, but it's Makar, so you're like, well, actually reasonable. I did a fun little parlay. I took all 3 games tonight. I took Florida, the Avs, and St. Louis.
Oh, I don't know who those teams are playing. I didn't look at the schedule.
Florida's playing the Flyers on a back-to-back, so that's easy.
Oh, they're definitely losing. Finally, going to lose a game this year.
And then St. Louis is playing the Kraken.
The Flyers dynasty coming to an end.
So the three pick parlays like plus 230. Threw a couple bucks at it just for
Plus
fun.
230.
Yeah.
For obvious favorites. Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's nice.
Not bad. When Florida was like minus 350, Avs are like minus 220.
Yeah.
You throw St. Louis in there, they're minus, but not a ton. Why not? So go over to DraftKings, make your bets on it. Any final thoughts on this one, AJ? That's a no.
Yeah, no, not really, man. Like
Yep.
they should win this game, but the Jets are an interesting hockey team. This will be an interesting early season test for them.
It will be. We are going to take this one down. We're going to bring up the watch along in 5 to 10 minutes here right before puck drop. Join us for that if you want to chill and watch the game. We hope to see you there. And if not, then we will talk to you in the post game afterwards. So see you then.